Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your journey. And I want to thank you for being on the journey, for being part of this work. It is such a joy. It is such a treasure to know that you are investing in yourself, that you are growing and expanding. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for taking the time, the step, the courage to be able to do this. It truly is something powerful. I know I say this a lot, but it really truly is something powerful. When we're able to step out and see that there are places in our life that need some attention and then have the courage to do it, to give it, that is truly a wonderful thing. So thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to come alongside you. If this podcast is helpful, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the Life Coaching on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these episodes. If you're on one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, follow us, give us a rating and review. Every positive rating and review tells the platform that people are listening. And if you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. This podcast is the digital arm of Grace Life Coaching. So if you want to reach out to me, if you want to do some coaching, some Reiki, some meditation, if you got some questions, you need me to come alongside you, I'd love to do that. GraceLifeCoaching.com, all one word, all lowercase. That's how you can get a hold of me. It's got all my information, my contacts. You can go ahead and set up an appointment if you want, and we can see what we can do together. So I'd really enjoy that. I'd really welcome that opportunity. So today I want to talk about something really simple but powerful and often underestimated as we enter into this time of year, as we get into this season. Now, we are late in the holiday season. We are just a couple of days away from Christmas. And what I want to talk about today is gratitude and how gratitude can help us get through this season. Now, I've talked about gratitude before. We spent a lot of time in November talking about gratitude, but I want to come back to it. Because gratitude can feel like something we're supposed to feel automatically during the holiday season, but it doesn't always happen. Real gratitude isn't forced. It isn't purchased. It isn't packaged. It isn't brought in a bag or a box or a gift. It's not performative. We don't perform gratitude. It's a practice. Gratitude is a practice. And when it's practiced intentionally, gratitude becomes one of the most effective tools for grounding ourselves during a busy and emotionally full season. So I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about using gratitude as a daily reset, a way to bring yourself back to what matters, even on the most hectic of days. See, the power of gratitude. Gratitude works because it shifts your attention. It focuses you on something else. It doesn't deny stress or frustration or disappointment. It simply refuses to let those emotions dominate the entire picture. Let me say that again because it's really, really important. Gratitude doesn't deny stress or frustration or disappointment. It doesn't say, hey, everything's great, everything's wonderful while you're drowning. It simply refuses to let those emotions dominate the entire picture. See, when life gets busy, your mind naturally scans for problems. It looks for what's unfinished. It looks for what's stressful. It looks for what's not working. But gratitude interrupts that pattern. It gently redirects your focus to what is present, meaningful, and supportive. Gratitude doesn't require everything to be perfect. It only requires awareness. It's about noticing what's good alongside what's hard. And that balance can be incredibly grounding during the holiday season. When practiced consistently, gratitude reduces stress, it improves emotional regulation, and it helps someone stay connected to what actually matters, not just what's urgent. And that's really a big thing. You know, when life gets busy, everything becomes urgent. Got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this. But when we practice gratitude, it focuses us on what actually matters. And it pushes that urgency a little bit further to the edge. And wouldn't that be an incredible feeling? Now, let's be clear about what gratitude is not. Gratitude is not ignoring your feelings. It's not trying to tell yourself, just be thankful when something genuinely hurts. It's definitely not pretending everything is fine when it isn't, okay? This is not some kind of Pollyanna, just get over it, put your head down, just be thankful, look at what you have, because that's not always easy, and it's not always possible. We are all finding ourselves in incredibly difficult moments every day, particularly amped up and stressful during the holiday season. But in the midst of that, we can introduce gratitude into the mix. We don't have to have that forced positivity that it leads to guilt and emotional suppression. There's no peace in that. There's no peace when we force ourselves to just be thankful for what we have, or just get over it, or just be happy. We find ourselves inside having guilt and suppressing those painful emotions, those difficult things. That's not peace. And that's what we're striving for, right? That's what we want, peace. Healthy gratitude makes room for the full range of emotions. It allows someone to say, this is hard, but there are still things that I can appreciate. This is a difficult moment, but there are still things that I can see positive and appreciate about them. Both can exist at the same time. We as humans, this is one of the things about humans, we are capable of holding two disparate emotions in tension at the same time. We can be in an awful moment and still find things to appreciate. We can be in an appreciative moment and still honor that there are things that are not perfect. Look, when you feel overwhelmed, you can still appreciate the moment of quiet. You can feel grief and still be grateful for connection. You can feel stress and still notice something kind or comforting. Gratitude becomes powerful when it's honest, not when it's used to silence real feelings. And that's so important because all of these feelings are part of us. Feelings are part of who we are. They're part of our makeup. So when we can be honest about them and still find things to appreciate, we can come into a much better balance. And gratitude doesn't need to be elaborate or time-consuming. In fact, the most effective gratitude practices are often quite simple and small. They are recognizing the moment. I've told you this many times. Life is lived in the moment. Are there things that are coming? Yes. Do we have to plan? Yes. Do we have to process what's happened? Yes. But we do all of that in the moment. And moments are small. Moments are small. A life well lived is built up of small moments over a long period of time. So how can gratitude show up in daily life, particularly during the holidays? Noticing those small moments. Noticing that right now, that breath, that warm drink, that shared laugh, a quiet morning, a text from a friend. These small moments often carry the most meaning. And that's what I want to talk about, is how do we practice gratitude in real life? The first thing is noticing the small moments. Noticing when the small things show up. And being thankful for them, appreciating them. Again, we don't need to, dip them in bronze and solidify them forever, but just notice them. Rather than gulping down a cup of coffee or a hot cup of tea because that's what we need to do to get through the day, notice the moment. Notice that moment. Another thing we can do is anchoring gratitude in routine. Routines are what get us through the day. Routines are what get us through life. We build routines because they're important. They're grounding. They're something that brings us back to the center. And they're things that we do pretty much every day. That morning cup of coffee or that evening wind down or meal times or bedtimes. When we can take gratitude and we can anchor it in those routines, when we can take those routines and say, what, I'm not just going to have my cup of coffee this morning. I'm going to be grateful for it. I'm going to be grateful for all the things that I have that allow me to have this cup of coffee. The coffee maker, the fresh water, the machine, the electricity, the cup, if you do cream and sugar, the access to that. See, when we can see those moments, those routines, and when we can anchor gratitude within them, then we can feel a lot fuller. We can still acknowledge this is going to be a hard day, but you know what? At least in this moment, I got to drink a nice cup of coffee. This is going to be a difficult conversation, but at least in this moment, I got to hear a nice piece of music or eat a nice piece of chocolate. When we can anchor gratitude to routine, it allows us to connect things more fully. Another thing is naming gratitude out loud. I know we don't talk to ourselves, but sometimes simply saying, I'm really grateful for this moment, even if we're thinking it, but acknowledging it, naming it, claiming it, identifying it, putting it out there. Simply saying, I'm really grateful for this moment helps you to fully experience it. Being able to identify it, voice it, give it a name and a presence. Maybe even writing it down. I've talked before about gratitude journals, writing down one or two things you're grateful for to help solidify the practice and give your mind something positive to return to. Again, our mind will spiral out of control. Our mind will go to all the things we need to do and all the things that we're not going to do and all the things that we're going to miss and all that, yada, yada, yada. But when we can write one or two things down that we're grateful for, maybe on a Post-it note that we hang on the mirror in the morning while we're shaving or getting our makeup on or what have you, Or if you have a whiteboard or a chalkboard in your kitchen that you write notes on, maybe putting it there, jotting down one or two things that you're grateful for. And the other thing is expressing gratitude to others. Letting someone else know that you appreciate them deepens connection and often brings joy to both of you. When we can articulate, when we can vocalize that we're grateful for someone else, it really can lead us into a deeper connection and understand that what really matters most are the people in our lives, the people that we're connected to. Gratitude doesn't have to be big. It just has to be real. It has to be vulnerable and acceptable and real and authentic and intentional. Gratitude is especially powerful when things become overwhelming. It acts like a mental reset button, helping you to pause and recalibrate. When stress spikes, ask yourself, what's one thing that's going on right now? What's one thing that I can hold on to, that I can grasp? What's one thing I can appreciate in this moment? Who or what is supporting me today? Stress is the thing. It can blind us. It can blind us into thinking that we have to do it all ourselves and it's going to be terrible and it's never going to work out. But when we can recalibrate, when we can reset, when we can come back to gratitude, particularly during stress, it can help us to see the bigger picture. And it can keep stress at bay. Those questions that I asked, what's one thing going on right now? What's one thing I can appreciate in this moment? Who or what is supporting me? What happens is it doesn't erase the stress. It doesn't go, I feel stress-free now. No, but it keeps it from allowing the stress to take over completely. Gratitude grounds you in the present moment. It reminds you that you're not just surviving, that you're still experiencing meaningful moments along the way. Life is not just about survival. Sometimes we need to survive in a moment or an experience, but life is not about survival. And when we can practice gratitude on a regular basis, what happens is over time, this practice trains your mind to look for stability and goodness, even during this busy season. So gratitude isn't about being cheerful all the time. It's about staying connected to what gives you life and what gives you meaning. And in this time as pressure amps up and stress amps up and things get busy, I certainly would encourage you. I would invite you to seek places of gratitude, to seek places where you feel connected, because staying connected gives your life meaning. It's a daily practice that brings balance, perspective, and calm, particularly in this holiday season. And look, wouldn't that be one of the most greatest gifts you could give yourself? This is a gift-giving time, and we want to give gifts to others, and that's so important. But what gifts are you giving to yourself? Would the gift of balance and perspective and calm not be something that would be truly appreciated this time of year? Absolutely it would. So I'd encourage you, at the end of each day, we have 4 days till Christmas. At the end of each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for, particularly during the holidays. What is it about this season that you're grateful for? They don't have to be big. Just make sure that they're honest. Maybe you share them with someone else. Maybe your evening practice with your spouse or your family is to just have a few minutes. What am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for in this season? Gratitude helps us to slow down. It helps us to notice what matters, and it reconnects us with joy, even in the middle of busyness. And what a precious gift that is. That's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. I really do. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there on your social media feeds. Put it out there on Facebook or LinkedIn or X or Instagram. If you see one of the posts, then follow and then tag me in it, share it, put it out there. If you get connected through the listening platforms, then follow us. It'll indicate when there's a new episode that comes out, and it'll tell others that people are listening. If you're a first-time listener, then welcome aboard. I hope this is helpful. If you've been listening, then welcome back. Thanks for being here. Thanks for allowing me to come alongside you, particularly in this busy holiday season. So I hope you have a wonderful day. As always, if you want to reach out to me, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I'd love to hear from you. At Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.